Hey yogis, thank you so much for joining me for another virtual yoga practice. So today we're going to be working with blooming our lotus posture. Being spring here in the UK, we're starting to see all the lovely flowers come out. So we're going to start to incorporate some of that energy into our own yoga practice by blooming and opening up through the lotus posture. I want you to not get too attached with the idea of acquiring the lotus posture. It doesn't matter if you ever get into full lotus but what's going to matter here is the intention of opening up, finding that space within and around the hip joint to help release some of the emotional buildup that may be stored there. So I really hope you enjoy this practice. Please remember to modify, especially if you're working with any injuries to your knees or your hips or ankles. And I really hope you enjoy today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste. Okay yogis, welcome. So we're going to start today in a seated position. We're going to actually take a mothering lotus mudra / pranayama breathing, and it's a really lovely way of just connecting to the heart center. Traditionally this is one that we actually practice prenatal postnatal yoga. It's really good for expectant mothers and new mums, but actually anybody can practice this, and it's one of my favorite practices to just tune into the breath and remain focused and grounded. So I want you to come to a seated position. I'm sitting up on a bolster just so I can remain really nice and tall through the spine. However, if you feel comfortable on the floor or you'd rather come into a chair, you can do that as well. I want you to start off by just imagining the roots expanding out through the pelvis. So we are the lotus here. We're grounding down. We are the flower blooming. Find a heaviness in the pelvis and feel the roots grounding around you. So maybe the tops of the feet are resting on the floor, maybe the ankles. And I want you to imagine that they're drawing the energy up from the earth and they're beginning to ground you down. So there's this combination of almost circulation of energy as you ground down into the earth. You're drawing the energy inwards and upwards as well. From the roots, I want you to imagine that the stem, I suppose, of your flower is the spine, and it's getting really nice and tall. It's reaching up towards the sky to get as much energy, as much nutrients from the sun as you possibly can. And then if you'd like, you can even visualize your crown chakra, the crown of the head, as a beautiful lotus flower blossoming up towards the sky. So you really want to be creating that length and reaching up as much as you possibly can. We're going to bring the palms together at the heart center. Stay soft through the shoulders. Make sure that you're not feeling any tension as they draw down the spine and back. And the palms are at the heart center in Anjali Mudra prayer pose. Okay, so we're just going to take one breath in. We breathe in and out through the nose. Exhale. Okay, I'll take it this first round a little bit slowly. So on the inhale, we're going to begin to peel the backs of the hands together. So we're opening up the hands like a book. Then the backs of the hands come together. We sweep the fingertips in towards the heart center. So the wrists are beginning to come together. We reach the fingertips forward. The palms are facing out to either side as we bring the arms towards straight. This is all on the inhale. And then on the exhale, we kind of sweep the hands in the opposite direction. So we bend the elbows, backs of the hands are staying together, and then we reopen the hands like a book. We bring the little finger and the thumb together, and we bring the hands into the lotus position, opening up towards the sky. Okay, so we're now going to take that with the breath. So on the inhale, bring the palms to heart center in prayer, opening them up like a book. Don't get too caught up on the movements here. Just take the rhythms that feel good, reaching the fingertips forward. And then exhale, we sweep the hands back, little fingers together as we bring the palms back into that lotus, opening up towards the sky. Taking a few more rounds at your own pace, inhaling. Exhaling. You can close your eyes as well once you become familiar with the patterns. Taking one more round. And then just remain here with your lotus opening up towards the sky. Bring the palms together at the heart center and gently blinking the eyes open. Namaste. So that's just our little breath patterns. We're just going to move into a soft, gentle spinal warm-up to make sure we've moved in all directions. So you can stay seated up on your block or your bolster if you like, or you can release the sit bones down towards the floor. If you had your legs crossed, I recommend that you just change the cross of the legs, getting nice and even throughout the hips. So we're going to bring the right hand to the outside of the right hip. On the inhalation, we're going to reach up with those left fingertips. And on the exhalation, we're going to side bend over to the right. Stay grounded through the left sit bone. Stay soft through the left shoulder. Keep it drawing down the back and away from the ears. Inhale, we come through center, reaching up. Exhale, left hand down. Inhale to extend through the right side of the body. And exhale, side bend over towards the left. Remain connected to that breath. Find opening around the heart center. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, right hand to the outside of the right hip, left hand towards the right knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale to twist, looking out over your right shoulder. Stay grounded through the pelvis, moving into the upper back as we twist the ribs over towards the right. Inhaling. Exhale, left hand to the outside of the left hip, right hand towards the left knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale to twist. Nice and tall, keeping the shoulders stacked over the hips. Inhaling. And exhale, release the hands down, coming into our tabletop position. Wrists under shoulders, knees underneath the hips, feet flat out behind you. On the inhale, we open up through cow pose, lifting the crown of the head, chest press forward, your belly drops down, the tailbone reaches up. Exhale, we round the spine into cat pose. Imagine you're trying to press the earth away with the hands, taking a few rounds at your own pace. Inhale, come back to a neutral position. Step that right foot forward to the space between the hands. We'll come into a low lunge. Right knee over the right ankle. Coming up, you can interlace the fingers over the top of the right thigh and begin to extend the spine towards straight. If you're feeling a little bit more open, you can draw that left knee back, getting a little bit more into the left hip flexor. Lengthen the tailbone towards the floor, gently squeezing the left glute to help release the front of the left thigh. Inhale. Exhale, bring both hands down to either side of the right foot. Tuck the left toes under, bring the left knee forward a couple of inches. And then we're going to bring the right knee back and out to the right. So this is called gate pose. The right foot should be with the toes facing forward, the heel towards the back. And then from here, we're going to lift up, coming into a high kneeling position, hips over the left knee. Chest is facing forward, gaze is facing forward. And then from here, you're going to bring your right hand down the right thigh. Inhale, reach those left fingertips up. And then exhale, side bend over towards the right. So I'll turn to face you. Feeling the stretch along the left side body. Also getting a little bit of a stretch, or quite a deep stretch actually, in the inside of the right thigh. Try to avoid putting pressure on the right knee. And then inhale, we come all the way back up through center. Reach up through those fingertips. Exhale. exhale, release the hands back down, coming into your tabletop. Release the right knee back to the center line. Inhale, step the left foot to the space between the hands. Inhale, coming up, interlacing the fingers, palms pressed down on the left thigh. You can keep the right knee where it is or bring it back a couple of inches. If it does feel discomfort on the right knee, then you can support the knee with a blanket, or failing that, you can just keep the knee lifted, but it is a slightly more active pose. Looking forward, lengthen the tailbone towards the floor, avoiding any compression in the lower back. This will deepen the sensation in the front of the right thigh. Stay active through the legs. Make sure the left knee doesn't go past the left ankle. One more breath in. Exhale, bring both hands to either side of the left foot. Bring the left knee back to meet the right, and then bring it out, swing it out to the left side. So right foot stays behind the right knee, and then you come up, left toes face forward. You can bring the hands to the waist to establish your balance here, getting a nice stretch to the inner thigh of the left leg. And then bring the left hand to the outside of the left thigh. Inhale to reach up through those right fingertips. And then exhale, side bend over towards the left. Avoid crunching through that right shoulder. Keep it down and away from the ears. You want to be feeling like there's a lovely deep opening along the right side of the waist and maybe the front of the right thigh. And then the deep stretch in the inner thigh of the left leg. Inhale. Coming back up through center, reach up. Exhale, we gently come back down to our hands and knees. Bring the left knee back in to meet the right and just shake the hips out from side to side. Checking in how you're feeling in the spine. And then we're going to come into downward facing dog. So bring the palms of the hands forward a couple of inches. Tuck the toes under. Lift those sit bones up and back. You can have a soft bend to the knees as we move into this position to start with, or if your hamstrings are feeling a little bit more open, you can begin to pedal the heels down towards the floor. I want you to find a grounding sensation through the index finger and the thumbs, gently externally rotating the upper arms and creating space between the shoulder blades so we're not collapsing through the upper back. Gently breathing in and out. Looking towards the toes, the knees, or the navel, depending on what feels most comfortable around the neck and the head. And then on your next breath in, looking forward in as many steps as you need, we're going to walk the feet forward to our ragdoll. So keep a nice generous bend to the knees, take opposite hand to opposite elbow, and you can just gently begin to sway from side to side. Maybe begin to bend and straighten one leg at a time, again, getting a little bit deeper into the hamstrings. Okay, releasing a hold of the elbows, staying nice and bent through the knees. We're going to begin to roll up the spine. If rolling up the spine feels uncomfortable, you can come up with a straight spine instead. And then we come all the way to standing at the front of our mat in our Samastitihi, our mountain pose. So grounding, again, the same kind of thing we were doing at the beginning of the practice. I want you to root down through the feet. Find that lift nice and tall through the entire length of the body, nice and active, and as if you're squeezing the energy inwards and upwards. And then we get nice and tall all the way up through the crown of the head, but we stay soft through the shoulders. Take a breath in and exhale. Okay, from the inhale, we're going to step the right foot to the back of the mat, about 3 feet wide. Bring the arms out to shoulder height. On the exhale, turn the right foot to face the short edge of the mat. Reach as far as you can with those right fingertips, and then take the right hand to the thigh, the shin, the floor, or the block on the outside of the foot, or you can take the peace fingers around the big toe of the right foot. Looking up towards the left fingers, lengthen the tailbone towards the left heel. This is our first external rotation in our right hip, finding the openness. Beginning to warm up the movements we need for opening into our deeper postures like lotus. So try to bring the awareness to the pelvis as much as you can. Try to really ground down through the outer edge of the left foot. This will help stabilize the pelvis forwards and will in turn deepen the stretch around the right hip. Inhale, look down, bend the knee to press all the way back up to center. Right toes in. Exhale, left toes out. Reach, reach, reach with those left fingertips. Create the space first and then bring the left hand to thigh, shin, floor block or toe. And you can look up towards that top hand if it feels good on the neck. Try to focus on still here, creating length along the spine, working especially with the left side of the body. Don't collapse into the left ribs and the left upper back. Instead, imagine that you're trying to reach the crown of the head towards the left side of the room. Keep the shoulders down and away from the ears, and smoothen the breath. Breathing deep into the ribs. Lengthen the tailbone towards the right heel, ground down through the outer edge of the right foot as we rotate the pelvis long ways along the mat to help deepen the external rotation in the left hip. Inhale, looking down to press up. Left toes in. Exhale, release the arms for a moment. Okay, we're going to bring the feet to about 5 feet wide now, so just heel toe the feet a little bit wider. Inhale, bring the arms out to shoulder height. Exhale, turn the right toes to face the short edge of the mat. So again, external rotation. Pressing the right knee towards the right side of the room, so the right knee stacks over the right ankle. Looking towards the middle finger of the right hand. We try to keep these shoulders stacked over the pelvis here in Warrior Two. And I want you once more to begin to ground down through the outer edge of the left foot. Feel how this takes pressure out of the front thigh. So we can focus more on opening through the front thigh as opposed to just working and strengthening the quadricep. See if we can find some flexibility here as well. Keep the shoulders down and away from the ears. Stay long through the torso as if you're grounding up through the crown of the head. Extending up through the crown of the head, sorry. Tailbone draws down towards the floor. Don't let the butt stick out the back. Good, okay, inhale, bring the right leg towards straight, right toes in. Exhale, left toes face the short edge of the mat. Stack the left knee over the left ankle, look to the middle finger of the left hand. Again, grounding down through the right foot is really gonna help take some of the pressure out of the left thigh here. If you lean too far forward, all that's going to happen is you're going to put extra weight in that front leg. So really bring some of the weight into the back foot, draw the tailbone towards the floor, create a nice opening along the pelvis. So ideally, ultimately, we're looking to kind of open the pelvis to the long side of the mat. However, if you don't have the hip mobility or if your hips are just built a little bit different, sometimes that makes the front knee collapse inwards. So don't sacrifice the alignment of the front knee in order to open up the hips. Take one more breath in. Exhale. Inhale, coming all the way back up, left knee straight, left toes in. Exhale, release the arms down. Good, so we're working as well with the abduction of the hip joint, which means the legs are drawing away from the midline. So already here we're practicing abduction. And what this does is it stretches out the adductor muscles, the insides of the thighs, which is going to be really useful for our lotus posture. So bringing the hands to the waist, inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, hinge forward from the hips. Try to avoid rounding through the spine. Hinge forward as far as you can go. So if the hands don't reach the floor, you can just keep them on the waist, or bring the hands down to the floor, shoulder distance apart, looking forward. Take another breath in. And then on the exhale, we bring the crown of the head down towards the floor. It doesn't have to reach the floor. It's just heading in that direction to the space between the hands. I want you to have a nice even balance between the feet, so the weight's not tipping backwards, your butt's not sticking out the back. Instead, you can feel almost like a lightness in the heels as you bring the weight forward into the toes, into the hands. Maybe if your head's on the floor, there's a tiny bit of weight on the head as well. But we're not looking to lift up into a headstand or anything. We're just looking to create the length around the hamstrings and the inner thighs. Breathing in and out through the nose. And we're finding a steady gaze looking off the tip of the nose. Inhale, we come to that halfway up position, arms straight, look forward. Exhale. Inhale, bring the hands back to the waist. Stay strong through the low belly as we come all the way back up to standing. And then on the exhale, you can either heel toe or just step your feet back to your mountain pose. Take a breath in and exhale. Hopefully you're feeling already a little bit more open around the hip joints. We're going to begin to practice bringing our legs into the external rotation, the same movements we're going to need for Lotus. We're going to start by taking these from a standing balancing position. So don't worry too much if the balance isn't there yet. You're welcome to find a wall. This is just working with the hip mobility especially today. So we're going to start in tree and then we're going to build off of that. So start by grounding through the left foot. On the inhalation we prepare by bringing the heel of the right foot to the ankle of the left foot, toes on the floor. Or you can bring the sole of the foot to the calf, pressing strongly with the foot into the standing leg. You can use your hand to help you. Bring the sole of the right foot to the left inner thigh. Whoa, wobbly today. And then bring the palms together at the heart center. Try to avoid putting the right foot on the left knee though. We don't want to put any unnecessary pressure on the joint. Okay, soft through the shoulders. And if you'd like, you can bring palms together, or you can take that lotus again with the little finger and the thumbs touching, opening up through the palms of the hands up towards the sky. Grounding down through that foot. Imagine again the cycle of energy as we ground down, we root down into the earth, and then we draw the nutrients, we draw that valuable energy up from the floor as well. That energy draws all the way up through the pelvis, up through the spine, and all the way to the crown of the head. Standing leg is strong. Imagine you're a little daffodil flying around in the wind. You're strong and your core is strong. No matter how much you shake, you will be unmovable in your core. Find a steady gaze and a steady breath. Okay, on your inhalation, if you can, we're going to bring that knee to the center line first and then exhale to release. So we're going to build off of that in just a moment. We're going to get both sides first though. So grounding down through the right leg, we externally rotate through the left hip on the inhalation. Prepare. Heel to the ankle, sole of the foot to the calf, or as I said, you can use your hand to help you, sole of the left foot to the right inner thigh. You can bring the palms together at the heart center or find a wall, or if you'd like, lotus. Little finger and thumbs touch. Find that rooting, grounding energy. It's finding a balance. We want to be grounding, but we also want to be expanding at the same time, feeling like we're growing and evolving out of the earth. And that standing leg is strong, it's unshakable. The pelvis is in a gentle, I say posterior tilt, because we have a tendency to stick the butt out the back in this posture. So we just lengthen the tailbone down towards the floor, making sure we're in a neutral position in the pelvis. Shoulders soft, gaze is soft, face is soft, breath is soft. Okay, on your inhalation, if you can, left knee to the center line first, and then exhale to release. Well done. So for this next one, I'm going to be offering quite an advanced option. This is only for those of you who are already maybe comfortable with the idea of half lotus postures. Otherwise, you can come back into tree again. So the first option I'm going to offer up is obviously tree, but the second one that I'd like to offer is to bring the knee up again, take it from the hands, and then we're going to externally rotate at the hip joint, okay? So the shin is now parallel with the floor. And what we're going to do is we're going to press the ankle into the left leg. Now this can be kind of a challenge to do with the left leg straight, so I recommend you come into a gentle squat. We're not going for like a deep chair pose here, but you can again bring your palms together at the heart center or lotus. Just having a gentle bend in this knee to help support the ankle. We don't again want our butt to be kind of like pointing out the back. We want to be lengthening the tailbone towards the floor, and this will take quite a bit of strength in the standing leg. If you're quite open enough in the hip and your knee and your ankle are healthy, You can close the knee joint, take the shin from the inside, so the fingertips are going to the outside of the shin. Take the ankle into half lotus by pressing the knife edge of the foot towards the hip crease of the right foot. Knee drops down towards the floor, okay? No discomfort in the knee, no discomfort in the ankle. You can hold onto that foot with the left hand, and if you'd like, we're going for the full bind here, you can take your right hand behind the back, reach for either the left elbow or the toes. And for the full expression, it's quite a deep one, we exhale to fold forward. Okay, so ultimately the left fingertips come to the floor on the outside of the left foot. We're looking down towards the left toes. So if you're in the standing variation, just again find a gentle gaze, gentle breath. And we don't want to be hyperextending in that left leg. So keep a soft bend, although we do want to be strong, we do want to be really engaged through the left leg. We don't want to be kind of putting the knee at any risk. If you're in the forward fold, inhale, head up. Exhale, we transfer the weight back to the leg. Inhale, coming all the way back up to standing. Okay, on the inhale, we bring the knee back to the center line, everybody, if you can. And then exhale to release. Good, shake out the legs. Can really feel that in the standing leg, I don't know about you. So we're going to come into that on the other side, and this side, this is definitely my trickiest side. I've had a knee ligament injury on this side, so I know I've got to be careful when I move into these deeper postures. I really need to make sure the movement's coming from the hip and not the knee. And maybe you're the same, maybe this is your better side. So again, we prepare the same way, tree, or we close the knee joint first, and then we take the shin from the inside. So I recommend again that you take a gentle bend to the knee just to help support the ankle here. It's kind of like a figure four or a standing pigeon variation. We bring the palms to the heart center or lotus. Okay, opening up through the hands in the lotus. Okay, so this is working the standing leg quite strong, so don't worry if you're feeling a bit fatigued in that standing leg. If you're comfortable with lotus, then again we close the knee joint first, take a hold of the shin from the inside, so we externally rotate from the hip joint by pressing the knee towards the back, and then we bring the knife edge of the left foot towards the right hip crease, holding on with the right hand. We do also have the option to bind left hand to right elbow, or left hand to left toe. You can bring the hands into half prayer, or for the full expression, we exhale, hinge forward. Right hand to the outside of the right foot, looking towards the right big toe. Again, we keep a soft bend in the right knee, don't lock it out. We're really mindful not to be feeling any pain in the left knee, the left ankle. And we don't want to press the left knee backwards. We want the left knee to be working its way forwards towards our left shoulder as it drops down towards the floor. Try to find, I know it's a challenge, but try to find an even distribution of weight in the feet. Ground down through the inner side of the foot, the outside of the foot, the front of the foot and the back of the foot. Inhale, head up if you're in the forward fold. Exhale. Inhale, we come all the way up to standing. Don't worry if you wobble out. Bring the knee to the center line first, and then exhale to release. And just shake out the legs. Good, so hopefully you were feeling that in the gluteal muscles of the legs. Obviously the standing leg is working those muscles, and hopefully the lotus leg is working with opening, stretching those muscles. So finding that balance in these postures. Okay, we're going to come down to the floor, but we're going to come through a malasana, just the garland pose, sorry. This is a really lovely one for opening up the hips, getting the stretch to the inner thighs, which is going to be so useful for our lotus. So we're going to bring our feet to a bit wider, well, if you're on the long edge of the vertical side of the mat, then you want the feet to be mat distance apart. Otherwise, just a bit wider than hips distance apart, toes out about 45 degrees. We bring the palms through the heart center, inhaling. And then as we exhale, we begin to squat down. Okay, so for some of us, this is going to get to this point and we're going to feel the heels begin to lift up off the floor. If that's the case, make sure you support the heels with either cushions or roll up the front of the blanket. Otherwise, we're going to come all the way down. Okay, for anyone that feels this is a lot of pressure, you can actually just sit on a block or a cushion, and that way you still get the opening of the legs and the muscles without putting so much pressure on the joints. Okay, and for others, if this feels like too much in the knee, you can place a small towel or something between the shin and the thigh bone, and this will release the angle of the knee joint. Okay, for everybody else, you can either have your hands on the floor or bring the thumbs towards the sternum, lifting up through the heart. You can use the gentle pressure of the elbows to help open up your thighs a little bit more. And this is a deep stretch, obviously, to the ankles as well. It's a balancing posture. We want to stay open around the heart center. Find the lift. Breathe smoothly. Take one more breath in. And then on the exhale, we're just going to sit back. So I recommend you just bring your hands out behind you, gently lower the hips down. And then we're going to extend the legs long and wide, getting ready for our wide leg forward fold. So we want our legs to be comfortably wide, okay? For me, that's just over sort of 90 degrees, but that's different for everybody. We don't want to be going to such a full range of motion that we kind of lose that mobility in our hips, where we kind of lock ourselves into place. So you want to be able to make sure there's a little bit of wiggle room in the pelvis, okay? So we're going to start off by bringing the hands behind the hips, tenting the fingers, staying nice and long through the spine. And you're welcome to stay here, especially if you're struggling with the mobility in the hips. I recommend that you stay here, making sure the knees and the toes are facing up towards the sky. If you're feeling a little bit more open, then you can come forward either to the forearms, or as you get more open here, maybe you can drop down, releasing the head or the chest down towards the floor. But we do want our toes and our knees to be facing up towards the sky. Breathe smoothly. This should feel like a really deep stretch in the inner thighs, maybe the outer edges of the hips as well. Making sure we're keeping the toes flexed towards us, okay? So the toes are facing back towards the knees, they're not collapsing inwards. Take one more full deep breath in. Exhale, really surrender to this pose, feel heavy. The center of gravity shifts forward. And then inhale, we walk the hands back up. Coming all the way back up to center. Take the backs of the knees with the hands, bending the knees. We're gonna bring the knees together and we're gonna bring the soles of the feet. And then we're going to bring the soles of the feet together, the knees draw open to the sides. So if you're up here with the knees up here, that's fine, working with this, letting gravity gently work with bringing the knees down. You are also welcome to support the knees with blocks. Okay, and we can again bring the fingertips behind us, tent the fingers, stay nice and tall through the spine. Or if you wanted to take it deeper, you can bring the hands, interlace them around the tops of the toes, or just take a hold of the feet. Inhale to get nice and tall. And then on the exhale, we can begin to hinge forward. Imagine that you're trying to bring your chin towards the floor as opposed to just bringing your head down towards your feet. Okay, we want to be nice and long through the spine. The shoulders draw away from the ears. And again, it shouldn't feel like we're fighting against gravity to get down here. It should feel like the center of gravity is shifting forwards. And then as the body, the soft tissues release, we can go into that space a little bit deeper, but it shouldn't feel like you're having to use the muscles to kind of force yourself down. Take one more breath in and exhale. Inhale, coming all the way up. And exhale to release. Okay, we're going to come into a preparatory posture for lotus. Now, I'm going to take a seated pigeon. For some of you, maybe you prefer the pigeon, the one on your front. I forgot what it's actually called, but the one where we're on the front and you're on the floor. and you're just gently floating over your front leg. But I'm going to take the seated one just because I feel I have more control over it, and I can change the degrees in which I'm feeling the openness in the hips. But take whichever pigeon variation feels most appropriate to yourself. Again, we're being mindful of the knee, mindful of the ankle. So we're going to start with our left leg extended long, draw the right knee in towards the chest. Okay, we're going to come into that figure 4 position. Remember we did just before where the ankle is over the thigh. We don't want the ankle on the knee joint, and we don't want to be sickling the ankle. So the ankle shouldn't be dropping down, the toes shouldn't be facing up. Ankle should be very firmly pressed down, toes flexed towards the knee. This will probably make the angle look a bit less impressive, but that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it looks like. What matters is the sensations we're feeling. So that knee might be up here, and that's fine as well. We're just working with wherever we are. Okay, so if this already feels like a stretch, you should be feeling it in the right glute. If this already feels like a stretch, work with this, tenting the fingers and staying tall through the spine. If you're not feeling it yet, I recommend that you bring the hands back. We lean back just enough to a point where we feel a lightness in the heel. And then we step that left foot back down, okay? From here, really don't be shy to use the strength of the arms to get tall through the spine. We want to be almost pressing the chest towards the thighs as opposed to kind of rocking back here, because you're not going to get any good stretch by rocking back here. This is just going to stretch out the lower back, which we don't really need today. Okay, so we're actually trying to almost press ourselves onto the tops of the sit bones and press our chest towards our shin. And you can feel it. The deeper you press into it, the deeper this stretch gets in the right hip. You do always want to be mindful of the right knee and the right ankle. Please don't push this if you're feeling any sensation there. Good. Take one more breath in. Exhale. Good. Releasing the left leg long. We're just going to take a little tester stretch here in half lotus. We're not going to come into it for too long, but you're going to take the shin with the palms underneath the shin, fingers towards the front side, closing the knee joint, and then we're going to external rotate at the hip. So it's like your knees getting pressed back towards the back of the room. And then we're going to bring the knife edge of the right foot towards the left hip. And we're just going to check in, how does this feel? Pain in the knee, or is it okay? How high up is this knee? Because we don't want to push lotus. Lotus is not a preparatory posture for lotus. If lotus is not feeling good, pushing it is not going to make it feel better. So I recommend that you work with the kind of figure 4 positions instead if it's just not blossoming for you yet. And sometimes I have days where it just doesn't work for me, especially with my left knee, which is, as I said, it's been injured before. Okay, so inhale, we squeeze that right knee in towards the chest, and then exhale, we release. Shake out the legs, let the blood go back towards the feet. And then we're going to come into that on the other side. So inhale, left knee, we close the knee joint first, we externally rotate at the left hip, placing the left ankle on top of the right thigh, above the right knee, toes flexed, knee drops down towards the floor, but it doesn't matter if it's up here, as long as you're feeling it, that's fine. And then you can work with this, palms of the hands flat or fingers tented, or to take it deeper, bring the hands back a few inches, lean back until you feel a lightness, and then press that foot back into the floor. So this side might feel different to you. For me, it takes less movement to feel the stretch because this is more of a tight side for me. So for me, I'm not going to bring my foot in so close towards my hip. And really, really don't be shy to use those arms to press your chest towards the thigh, the shin, sorry. So we really want to avoid rounding the spine. We really want to be pressing forward as if you're trying to shift almost into a forward fold here, even though you're probably not going to go that far. And avoid sickling that left ankle. You want the toes to remain flexed back towards the knee. And also don't worry if you kind of find you're leaning off to the left hip bone, the left sit bone, sorry, as opposed to grounding through both. You can find that sometimes shifting your weight off to the left side will deepen the stretch a little bit. Take one more breath in. Exhaling. And then we gently release by leaning back, extending that right leg long, Okay, we're closing the left knee joint. Okay, so we take the foot from the inside. Okay, so what this does is it moves the knee into a slight external rotation. This counteracts a natural tendency for it to internally rotate, which can cause damage to the ligaments. So, left knee back towards the back of the room as if you're trying to like kind of charge up a bow and arrow. And then we bring the left foot, knife edge of the left foot, towards the right hip crease. Okay? We're just checking in how we're feeling here. This is definitely my tighter side. If anyone finds that their knees are quite high up, you can always support them with a block as well. This just reduces the vulnerability in that left knee joint. Take one more full breath in. Exhale. Inhale, draw the left knee in towards the chest. And then exhale, release. Just shake out the legs, let the blood flow back to the feet. Okay, from here, we are going to have the option to trial full half lotus. I really recommend that you don't push this, okay? Our lotus is blossoming anyway, regardless whether we do the full posture. We're working with opening the hips, and that is already done. This is just for those people that maybe want to give it a go, or you know you're close. So I recommend that we start in a crossed legs position. So what this does is it already gets the hips into an external rotation, so this is going to relieve the pressure on the knee joint, as opposed to what we don't want to see is the legs straight, then we just grab the foot from the top and force it there. What that does is it internally rotates the knee joint, and it's really, really the most dangerous way you can move your leg. So we don't want to do that. We want to make sure it's nice and open. Especially if you're feeling pressure in the midline, we want to be making sure that we're external rotating at the knee joint. If you are feeling pain on the outside of the knee, then I recommend that you don't work with any form of lotus just now, and instead work with the hip mobility. Okay, so we're going to start with the right leg first on this side. So again, we take the foot from the inside, externally rotate at the hip joint. So we press that knee back, and then we bring it forwards, more towards the midline. Make sure that right foot's nice and comfortable. We want to avoid sickling the foot as much as possible. So I often see this where the foot's kind of dropping down, the heel is more towards the groin, which we don't really want. We want it to be nice and firmly placed up there in the hip crease. Okay, and then it's a little bit more tricky, so you can just stay with this. This is already going to be opening up the right hip. If you wanted to try the left side as well, you can again take the left calf from the inside. It's more challenging here, we've got less space to work with, so you just have to be mindful. There we go, and then we squeeze both knees towards the midline, keep both toes flexed, and we found our lotus. You can take chin mudra. We're just going to be holding here for 5 breaths. Soft through the shoulders. If you're feeling any discomfort in the knees, make sure you release. Keep the toes flexed back towards the knees. And then just for fun, if you'd like, we can find Utpluti. Bring the palms of the hands forward between the thighs and the knees. Lift up the hips. You can round through the spine here to find that lift. And then exhale, release down. Good. Okay, coming out can be a bit of a challenge again. Make sure you take the foot from the shin from the inside. Okay. Release. Good. And then make sure we take the right foot from the inside. Release. And then I recommend you draw both knees into the chest. Release both legs. Shake them out. Let the blood come back, and then we're going to take that on the other side. So if you're in half lotus, again, we're just going to do it on the left side. So cross the legs to start with. Okay, so left leg first. So take the left leg from the inside, open up the hip joint, and then bring the left foot in. Okay, so again, you don't want to be sickling that left ankle. You want the firmness of the leg, the heel to be pressing in towards the right hip crease as opposed to just dropping down towards the floor. Okay, you're welcome to stay with this. Or, again, we take the right calf from the inside. Getting unbalanced here. There we go. From the inside, and bring that towards the right foot towards the left hip crease. Good. You can take chin mudra, breathing, holding for about 5 breaths. And then just for fun, Utplutihi, bring the hands forward a couple of inches, lifting up. Lift those knees, lift those hips. One more breath in, and then exhale, release. Okay, taking the right shin from the inside, release. Taking the left foot from the inside, good, release. I do apologize, my lotus isn't the most beautiful. It's very much a work in progress for me, but maybe that's okay. Good, extend the legs long, shake out the ankles, shake out the knees, tune in how you're feeling in the legs. We never want to work into pain with these postures. We just want to be finding openness. Okay, that's good. And then we're just going to come down onto our backs. And we're just going to take a very gentle spinal twist. So bring the feet in, feet hips distance apart, lower the knees over to the right. You can bring your arm to a cactus or goalpost position looking over to the left. Soften the breath, soften the jaw. Inhale, bring the knees to center. And exhale, lower them over to the right. Inhale, bring the knees to center, and then exhale, extend the legs long, coming into your Shavasana, your rest. Find softness in the body, arms rest alongside the body, let the ankles, the knees, the shins, and the hips roll open towards the sides. Release the breath and allow your natural soft rhythms to gently continue down into the low belly. Find calmness in the head, calmness in the mind. Any thoughts, any emotions, just let them drift away. Let your body rest. As we draw in the beautiful energy from the sun, we draw up the beautiful energy from the earth beneath us. And take lessons from the lotus flower, which emerges from the muddy depths. Know that you too can blossom in any situation. Anytime you feel stress or confusion, you too can find this beauty, this stillness. And you can be the beautiful flower that blossoms out, sending your love and your light out into the world. Please stay resting in your Shavasana for as long as you have the time for today. As you go forward, I wish you peace in your thoughts, peace in your words, and peace in your heart. Namaste.